Howdy all and welcome back to the channel. So, just want to say I hope everybody's having a nice January. I know January can be a bit of a slow month in general for gaming, so there's been less videos on the channel as well because of that. However, I have been on Assassin's Creed Valhalla quite a fair bit, so I'm going to be talking about Assassin's Creed Valhalla today. The game is very long, and I have played it a very long time, so I do feel I can give a good overview of how I feel about the game. I'm going to start with some of the negatives first, because then we can pick it up a little bit and I'm going to give my final thoughts at the end. However, some of the character animations in the game are appalling, to say the least. There'll be people standing in midair over nothing. You'll be literally just, like, not yourself per se, but other characters will be literally hanging off the edge of cliffs or hanging off the edge of sides of houses and suspended on nothing. In fact, I think one of them was standing on my head at one point, which is just bizarre. One point earlier on in the game, I saw a pig flying, quite literally a pig flying through the air, which is just bizarre as well. You'll randomly see people cheering as if they've celebrated a victory, but no said victory has happened. And they'll be standing and shouting like a brick wall. Yay, way, we won, and they're looking at a brick wall. Just around looking at a brick wall. The game seems to have a lack of direction with the storyline. The areas are standalone, and make the story slightly disjointed. So you'll find yourself thinking, oh, what the hell happened hours and hours ago, to figure out what the hell was going on and what that part of the story meant. The actual background music of the game is strange and off-putting, so much so that I've actually muted the background music, because it's not adding anything to the combat of the game or the ambiance of the gameplay at all. It's just there and being irritating. So I've turned that off. The gameplay itself is very good. It is good, but it's just not feeling like an Assassin's Creed game. To call it an Assassin's Creed game seems a very big stretch of the imagination, because actual assassinations from within the game are pretty much zero, down to maybe just you killing the odd main key enemy and confirming the kill, like in the original game. And then obviously scoping the landscape to open up the map is very Assassin's Creed-like. But apart from that, it's almost not like an Assassin's Creed game. They could have called it X, Y, Z Valhalla instead, and that would have been probably just as fitting. But they're like just putting the Assassin's Creed their name to try and sell the game almost. Which, fine, but it's not like the original, 5, 6, 7 games. We've already been through so many games in a series, and it's now lacking what it was meant to be in the first place. It kind of just doesn't feel like you're playing the type of game it should be. That makes sense. There's some random character relationships in the game where they mean literally nothing to the story, and it's just been chucked in for the sake of it, and it adds nothing to the story or anything whatsoever, and I don't care for that at all. And it's like, why have you put this into the game? For what reason? Exactly? Because you're not doing anything for the game, and given the time period of when this is set, some of the relationships wouldn't have ever happened. In fact, you'd have probably been hung and murdered for whatever, because it's not what would have happened back then, I would have thought. With that being said, the odd graphical glitches in general are bizarre, and this has been since the most recent update as well. Like, my ship flew through the air and landed in the middle of the abyss, and you can't recover it back into the water. You will see that in a little clip that I've got on this video as well, my ship just randomly in the air. It's bizarre. Arrows suspended in midair, just laying around the place, walk through them, don't really care. And again, as I say, this is still persisting after the most recent patch, so I don't really know what they were thinking, but it's just not quite there, so to speak. And that there's other things that are slightly strange with it, but I think that's about it really from the negative side. There is quite a fair chunk of narration of the characters that just seems weird and not very well done. That being said, on to some of the good points of the game I actually have really been enjoying. The map of the game is insanely big, and the map of England and Norway, the actual locations I guess are in proper correct, true to life as they would have probably been back there, and what people have documented, and they've probably gone through a real deep historical, looking at things to try and find out what they need to call stuff and everything. So it's really good, although it's not written in true English, it's probably in Old English or Vikingish or whatever. However, there are chunks of the game which are in fake location names, so like, or some of the characters, like you got Thor and Loki in there and all sorts, and you're in Asgard, and it's just, well, not true. The architecture and landscapes of the game are truly beautiful. It's absolutely amazing to look at some of the scenery, and I've spent quite a chunk of time in photo mode, just snapping photos, looking around, seeing what I can do. It's beautiful scenery. It's absolutely breathtaking, the places. It's just a shame that they couldn't take that breathtaking surroundings of England and places and pull that into the character animations and that side of things, because some of the ones just feel like they're not even meant to be there, which is just bizarre. But yeah, it is my Bond in the middle of nowhere. Like, what's it doing? I don't know, but anyway, as I said, some of the character animations are old looking, and because the scenery and architecture is so perfectly done, it just feels as if it's not in the right place. But furthermore, onto the storyline in general, like I say, it is a bit disjointed, and it is very, very slow. It's more like you're playing a long TV series of 50-odd episodes as opposed to like a trilogy or 4 movies, whereas an older Assassin's Creed game would be like 10, 12 hours long, and it felt like everything was flowing quicker, and when you get to the end or whatever. This feels like a very slow TV series, and parts of the story as well as the gameplay seem a bit repetitive. But it is good, and if you can just remember back to 20 hours ago in the game, you can get the story all fixed together and know what's going on. So that is good. The gameplay in general is fun. It is fun going around slashing people up, but it's just not. It's more of a hacker slasher than a typical Assassin's Creed game. So it's a bit all over the place in that sense of the matter. So, yeah, I mean, it is fun. It is fun. Some of the storyline makes you go, wow, I want to know what's happening next. I want to know what's happening next. I want to know what's happening next. And that's really cool. That is really cool. I do like that a lot. But the general story of the game is just slow, and it's the type of game I'm finding myself wanting to carry on playing. But I want to play something else, and it's like I want to come back to this now sporadically as opposed to just playing it as my main game. And and I have read that there's no real true ending to the game. You do all the areas, and the last actual final boss is locked between a very, very long collectible, which takes you hours and hours and hours and hours. So it's kind of like you can't get the credits to roll. Some of the music, like I said in the game, I've turned off some of the main music of the game. However, the sound effects in the game are ridiculously good. From the water when you're in the rivers or a stream or a waterfall, it's really good. The wind sounds when you're up high are just absolutely spot on. The combat and the crashing sounds or your bar, just really, really well done. The skill tree in the game is absolutely massive. I think there's 300 and 400 of entries to the skill tree. And that's just mind-blowing, if you ask me. Some of these games you'll see, like this, you'll have skill trees of like 50, 60 maybe maximum. This has got like 400. So the game is humongous. And they're adding DLC to this as well, so I'm trying to think how big that might be. But overall, my opinions of this game, I don't know. I mean, places were giving it like 9.5 out of 10, and for me, it's probably a 7. With the, as I said, to call it an Assassin's Creed game, it's a bit of a stretch for my liking. It's almost like they've just put that name there to sell the game. And the game is very good, but obviously if they had called it, Bob's Friend Viking, it probably wouldn't have sold as well, because people probably would buy it more because of the Assassin's Creed name being put there. It's like a James Bond film. If you'd have called it Skyfall, blah blah, it wouldn't have done very well as calling it James Bond Skyfall, would it? So, yeah, it's just that it's not as true to the original Assassin's Creed style games as I want it to be. So with that said, the janky character animations from time to time, the slowness of the story, because we're not just talking slow, we're talking ultra slow, and some of the repetitive nature just makes you feel it's probably more like a 7 out of 10. And I haven't had the game crash on me whatsoever, by the way. Whereas some of the other PlayStation 5 games, I've actually had them crash out on me. This is just played fine. I haven't had any crashes where the actual game crashes to get out to the console and it needs to be rebooted at all once. Which, that's actually quite a feat, because Mars Morales crashed on me. I've had Tetris crash on me. I've had Immortals Phoenix Rising crash on me. I've had Sackboy crash out on me, but this hasn't crashed once, and I played this nearly over 100 hours, I think. So I'd probably give this like a 7, pushing the 7 a bit out of 10. It's certainly not 9.5 for myself. And yeah, that's probably going to do it for the video. If you do want to know more about my opinions on this game, do put a comment down below and I'll get back to you. And if you're new around here, please subscribe, and if you like the video, drop me a like and a comment, and I'll catch you on the next one. I'm just going to leave a little bit of gameplay running out here for the next 2 minutes so you can enjoy that. And I'll see you soon. Bye.